915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk, and I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we are broadcasting from the heart of the world's largest borderplex. We're here at the KELP studio in El Paso, and we have Mac Daddy Del Norte on the board. Mac Daddy, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing pretty good, Andy. How about yourself?
I've run out of superlatives to describe the wonder and joy of the educational journey that we continue on each and every weekday afternoon as we learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory. Now, tell me this, Mac Daddy Del Norte.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about what's happening here in El Paso.
Definitely.
The borderland, right?
Yes, correct.
Occasionally we talk about something that's national.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But how often do we talk about the state of Texas?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is true.
We are not talking
rare.
about Texas enough.
That is true.
I feel like, Austin is pretty far away, and we're out here in the middle in this island in the desert, and sometimes we forget we're part of a state.
Yes, actually, yes. That is so true.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about Texas leadership, Texas politics, and today we have a very special guest.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, do you know why she's special?
Let me guess.
Okay.
Is it because she is I totally blew it.
Come on, Mac Daddy.
Yeah, I totally
she is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God. That is true.
Yes,
that is true. But she's not a daughter of the borderland, sadly.
Oh,
she's originally from Midland.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
it's kind of like she's almost from El Paso.
Yes.
Right,
yeah. But she's our neighbor.
Yeah. Have you ever driven through Midland?
Yes, definitely.
That's an experience. My son is going to college in Abilene, and the most exciting part of that drive from El Paso to Abilene is that time going through Midland.
Yes.
But she's from Midland, and she's been on the Texas Railroad Commission. She's one of the 3 commissioners.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what the Texas Railroad Commissioner does, Mac Daddy? Don't know.
Can I guess?
Okay, you can guess.
Is she in charge of the railroad?
So
Like
I don't know why
trains?
I don't know why you would think it would have anything to do with the railroads.
No,
but that's absolutely incorrect.
Oh,
has
okay.
nothing to do with the railroads.
All right.
It's part of our government's efforts for transparency, naming commissions that have nothing to do. I'm just joking. So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
What that is?
Okay.
It has to do with energy.
Oh, wow.
Energy, not like your kids have. But like
tell
oil
me
and
about
natural gas. Texas has been blessed with some of the biggest energy deposits on planet Earth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, but she's running for comptroller.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So when you go out to vote, you know how there's the whole list, and you get to comptroller, and you're like, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an Xbox controller?
Well, according to AI,
Kinda?
Xbox controller. No, comptroller, not
comptroller.
controller. Comptroller.
Okay. Oh, got you.
Yeah. Kind of like, anyway. So that's what she's running for.
Okay.
Nice. And according to the internet, she's trailblazing. She's been a trailblazing chair of the Texas Railroad Commission. She's a woman who's not only broken barriers in a male-dominated field, but has also steered the state's oil and gas industry through some of its most challenging times.
Wow.
Yeah, I have no idea what that means. That's why we have these conversations.
Yes, exactly. So we can learn.
Exactly.
Yes.
We're learning. We're learning. So we are truly honored to have her in today, and I hope that our listeners will learn together with us. So without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Christi Craddick. Christi, welcome to 915 Talk.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is fun because I feel like just this huge nerd for talking about all of these things, but they affect us.
They do every single day.
Yeah, when it comes to the Railroad Commission, when it comes to the comptroller, when your office reached out about having this conversation, I said, I don't know what the comptroller is, but I know it's important because my wife occasionally, who is way more important than I am, she's like, I have to check the comptroller site. She'll say things like that. So I know it's super important. But before we get into that, why you're running for comptroller, Tell us about the Texas Railroad Commission.
So the Railroad Commission, as you have already said, doesn't do railroads. But let me give you the history.
Yeah, okay.
So you understand why we have our funny name. We like our funny name, by the way.
Oh, we like it. Okay.
We're the oldest state regulatory body in the state, in Texas. We were and used to regulate railroads when we were founded 140 years ago.
Okay.
In the 19-teens, 1920s, way over in East Texas.
Okay, way over in East Texas.
Way over in East Texas, we found natural gas in this and oil in this state.
Okay.
And then, of course, it came out here, and we have Santa Rita #1 out in West Texas, right?
Santa Rita #1. I don't know what that is.
That is the first oil well in the state.
The first oil well in
on
Texas.
UT lands and university lands. So sitting out here in West Texas.
Okay. All right.
So oil and gas at the time, we had nobody to regulate it to protect the environment and prevent waste, right? You don't want to just drill wells and not have them go someplace. You want them to be that product to be used.
Right.
The governor at the time decided that we as an agency should regulate oil and gas because we were shipping barrels, like trash can barrels, right?
Right.
We were already shipping things in new railroads, and we were going to ship barrels of oil on the railroads, and that's how we were going to transport it. So he gave us oil and gas. So we're the oldest oil and gas regulatory body in the world.
Oh.
In the world.
Not
just the country.
In the universe.
In the world.
In the universe.
That's right. So we do oil and gas.
Okay.
And then in the 1980s, we quit doing any kind of railroads because we deregulated them nationally.
So the railroads are now deregulated.
That's right.
I'm sad about that because we need some passenger trains.
We have a few.
We have a few. We could improve on that.
We could.
But
I still get a phone call every week about that I don't like my railroads.
Oh.
Something and my railroad crossing, right?
Yeah, completely unrelated to the conversation. But when I was looking into this, and I just Googled it to make sure I'm right, do you remember the name of the Texas governor who first started the Railroad Commission?
I'll let you tell me. How about
Okay,
that?
I
know the year time.
Yeah. So it was Governor Hogg.
I was going to say it was somebody from Houston.
Yeah, Governor Hogg. And I just thought that was so great. It reminded me of the Dukes of Hazzard. Anyway, Boss Hogg and all that.
You know, his daughter's name was Ima Hogg. Honestly, that's really was her name.
I feel like this is the main reason we're having this conversation today.
You're learning something.
Yeah, like if I were Governor Hogg and I had a daughter, I'd be super excited. And there's all kinds of names out there, but he went with Ima. I appreciate that. But he did start the Railroad Commission, and part of this program is we do a little quiz, make sure I understand so far. So correct me if I'm wrong. The Railroad Commission started because of the railroads, but then we hit oil.
That's right.
And that's what makes Texas great, one of the things. And the oil was being transported in barrels, which it isn't anymore, right?
No, we put it, you see we do use railroads a lot, though, to transport oil. If you see I always think of the black cars that look like barrels, kind of the long, that's got fuel in it.
It's got fuel in it. Okay. Yeah. And so
we use pipes too, but you got it.
Yeah. And so the Texas Railroad Commission has nothing to do with railroads. So if you're unhappy that there's not a train between El Paso and Abilene for passengers, like I am unhappy about this, then don't call the Railroad Commission. They've been deregulated.
That's right.
Okay. So
we do that. We do a little bit more too, by the way.
Okay. So you do the oil, natural gas. Tell me, are you the people who are over all those windmills?
Nobody's over windmills in this state.
Oh, that's a chance for me and Mac Daddy to get into something about floor level, but nobody's over the windmills.
So let me tell you what we do.
Okay, yeah, that's better.
And then I'll go back to windmills.
Okay.
How's that? So we do pipelines. So if you've got natural gas going to your house,
yes,
we do that.
Okay.
We do that. The rates.
Do you guys hear that? Christi Craddick brought me a pipeline to my house for that gas heat, which I appreciate.
Which is, hey, keeps you warm, keeps your fuel going.
That's right, because in El Paso, believe it or not, our winters can be cold.
They can be.
Yeah.
So gas utilities, we do the rates.
Okay.
Pipelines, we don't do routing, but we do all the pipelines that flow through this whole state, which we have about About 500,000 miles of pipe in this state. We regulate that as
Is
far
that
as safety.
necessary?
Well, it's got-
500,000 seems like a lot.
It's a lot. Goes
Yeah.
to the moon and back.
Really?
Really does.
Well, yeah. Okay. So that's
It's
a lot of
pipeline.
pipeline.
That's
So-
the
so-
biggest pipe state in the country.
Well,
right now.
that's important, making
It
sure
is.
that we don't have any leaks or anything like that.
That is. It is. Safety's important.
Right, of course.
We also do coal. We
Okay,
have coal.
cool.
We have coal mines in this state.
In Texas.
East Texas and along the border with Mexico, we have
Okay.
coal mines.
All right.
We use that for electricity, right?
Okay.
Because we have coal plants in the state.
We do. Okay.
We do. About a third of our energy every day comes from coal in Texas.
wow.
Keeps
All
your
right.
air on.
Yes.
Keeps your lights on.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
important. We also do. We have people forget. We have uranium mines in this state. So we do uranium mines.
Where
They're
are
in
the uranium?
in South Texas.
Okay.
And it's not. And by the way, coal mines in Texas are not like what we think of West Virginia, that they go deep underground, right?
Okay.
We strip mine.
Okay.
So that's what a coal mine looks like. That's
Okay.
sort of what a uranium mine looks like too in this
Oh,
state.
wow. Okay.
We also do CO2. Everybody thinks that's new. We've been doing it for 20 plus years in this state.
Okay.
And we also do geothermal. Everybody thinks that's new.
Okay.
We've been doing that for 40 years.
Geothermal.
Geothermal's not
We have
new.
that in Texas.
We
I always think
do.
of Iceland or places like that,
We
but we
have
have
it.
it right here in the great state of Texas.
We do.
And that's also the Texas Railroad Commission.
That's right.
It
So
feels like you do everything but railroads.
we do a lot of stuff, but we don't do windmills or solar.
Oh, windmills or solar. Okay.
So windmills or solar. Now, companies do it. Go on private land, right? They go contract to build those windmills or those solar powered
Right.
plants. Now that we're seeing all the solar arrays all over,
Uh-huh.
and then they go to ERCOT, which is the Energy Reliability Council of Texas. It runs our power grid.
Okay.
Not you, by the way, because El Paso's unto itself.
Yeah,
You're on the Western grid.
we have our own thing.
You do, but if
Yeah.
you're in the rest of Texas,
Right.
for the most part, you go contract with ERCOT to get that wind power on the grid.
Okay.
But we at the Railroad Commission and nobody regulates wind or solar in the state of Texas.
Okay. Okay. So, having said all that, it's a pretty big deal because
deal.
Texas, as far as I know, has the largest oil, natural gas deposits
So we're the
possibly in the world.
We're the biggest in the world.
Okay.
We're the biggest in the country for sure.
Uh-huh.
So last year we developed and produced in Texas about 2 billion barrels of oil. We broke a record
Okay.
in this state. And last year,
Wow.
dollar-wise, the industry put in sales tax and property tax. They pay all the taxes you and I pay.
Yeah.
They also pay what we call severance tax. I'll get back into that in
Okay.
a minute. And they pay royalty payments. If you happen to own a mineral interest underneath a oil well, you get paid a little something.
Okay.
They put $27.5 billion into this state last year.
Okay.
It's a lot. It's a record. That's a big number for me. So
Yeah.
it's about $75 million a day last year in 2024 came into the state from oil and gas.
Okay.
It's
Wow.
a third of the state's economy.
Right. Okay. So,
It's big.
all right. So, I think the takeaway so far is when we go to the voting booth and there's that part about the Railroad Commission, we need to understand, first of all, what it does, but then for you, what would you see as being your accomplishments while you were there?
So the Railroad Commission is gotten. We've continued. I've been there 13 years. I'm in my
Okay.
13th year.
Uh-huh.
If you go back not that long ago, this state was just redeveloping and looking at more oil and gas assets. We kind of didn't have an industry for a long time. You had a little bit, but we now have developed horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing. Again, not new stuff. We've been doing that stuff in this state and have had rules for that because we make you follow our rules at the Railroad Commission. We inspect and make you follow our rules. We've been doing that for about 50 years, right?
Okay.
But the technologies have combined. In fact, today we're sitting here in a radio station, but basically you can run an oil well from the electronics that you have sitting in this room.
Wow. Okay.
If your kids play
Something to
video
look
games,
into.
that's right. If your kids play video games, you can go drill an oil well for the most
Okay.
part.
All right.
So they're not wasting their time. They're learning technology, right? But so when I got here, we were an agency that was relatively small.
Mm-hmm.
The industry was really beginning to develop again. We now have about almost 500,000 people directly in the industry today in the state, and so we needed to make sure our rules were up to date. And a lot of things have changed. So now we're the biggest state. We like being the biggest. A lot more development, which you want to make sure you've got enough people on the ground, enough inspectors. But my biggest pet peeve when I first got to the Railroad Commission was we were on hard copy.
Hard copy.
That's just 13 years ago.
Right.
So you had to file every permit on hard copy.
Sounds like this radio station.
Well, it could be. Took us 90 days to get a drilling permit out.
Okay.
And we have a library still in hard copy, and we were on a mainframe Fortran. Now, if you
Okay.
don't know what that is, go look for the white-haired person, and they're going to know.
A Fortran.
A Fortran.
Okay, I will bookmark that.
Old
Yeah.
stuff, right? And we want to be more transparent. People want to know what we do. And data, as everybody knows with AI, data is the most important thing. We could see that company coming. And as an agency, for every oil and gas well and every pipeline in the state, we have all the data, and everybody wants the data. But you had to come look in our library to get the hard copy. So we're in the last cycle. One of my priorities has been at this agency, one, to hire and keep good people, because that's always a challenge. But two, to get us into cloud. So we're in the last cycle to really be in cloud. We're now about 95% automated as an agency. You can find our data. We're much more transparent.
I love it, and I'm going to make a parallel between the Texas Railroad Commission and this radio station. We are moving from hard copy to the cloud ourselves, even as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
But we haven't reached that $27 billion of revenue for the state, sadly.
Well, I don't get to use the money. I have to go ask like every other agency. So,
Gotcha. So the Railroad Commission is overseeing a lot of this, or all of it, really. And it's three of you.
that's right.
So, and again, possibly the largest oil deposit in the world. So that's pretty important.
It's huge. You know,
Yeah.
look, we have two of the biggest oil fields in the world are sitting in Texas.
Right.
You're talking about the Permian Basin, which is the biggest
Yes.
oil field. The second biggest in the lower 48 is the Eagle Ford, which is in South Texas,
Okay.
San Antonio South.
Gotcha.
And actually, that goes into Mexico. That field goes into Mexico. So, and the third field that we all look at that kind of started this new oil field revolution is up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, really Fort Worth area, and west. That's called the Barnett Shale.
Okay.
And so, look, today, what companies and figured out technologically wise. And what they've done well, because Texas regulates well, but we don't overregulate. We are not the feds, which has been a good thing for Texas. That that drilling permits for them take a year. We're now at 48 hours. By the way, we were at 90 days. We're at 48 hours.
Wow.
Very purposefully, we want people to continue to develop in Texas, put their dollars in Texas, employ Texans. But we also know if you regulate fairly, but don't overregulate, people are going to innovate.
Right.
And that's really what's happened. So what we now are doing, I talked about horizontal drilling, hydraulic fracturing. We're going, now think about this, we're going 2 miles underground.
Okay.
Then the companies are going 3 miles down the road.
Okay.
And within a window of, I don't know, the width of your table, they are hitting where they want to go.
Okay.
And they're steering it really with electronics.
Yeah.
And are fracking into what we call shale. It's like sand.
Yeah.
And different viscosities of sand, and breaking up that sand with a few less chemicals than underneath your sink and a lot of water. And that oil and gas is flowing to the surface. That's how we're developing. That's pretty amazing technology.
Yeah.
You know, and we've come a long way. We could go 2,000 feet. Then we went a mile and thought that was a big thing. Now we're at 3 miles.
Wow.
3 miles is that's a long way. That's halfway across the city when you think about it.
Okay, so we need to get into the comptroller discussion. Before we get there, you're talking about fracking. You're talking about really these resources. You're talking about Texas jobs. I guess my question is for us here in El Paso, where there really aren't very many oil jobs.
Why does it matter?
Yeah, why does it matter?
Well, one, you said you got natural gas to your house.
And I'm going to just throw a tack on there because when in El Paso, when we hear fracking, what we know is occasionally we have earthquakes.
You do.
Yeah, and so like that's how it affects us. So why does this matter?
So look, one, and you're right about the earthquakes.
Yeah.
I the last time I was here, you had one.
Yeah.
By the way. And that has to do with disposal. And we as an agency have taken that very seriously and are helping between us and industry mitigate those issues. So that is something we spend a lot of time on, by the way. That and water. We spend, look, I'm from West Texas. I may not be as far west from West Texas as y'all are, but water's important to everybody.
Right, of course.
So we spend a lot of time on that. Why does oil and gas matter to you? Because one, you just told me some people have it at their house. They get natural gas into their home. So you can see that every day. Two, we all know if you're driving a car, you're filling up, right?
Yes.
But the real thing is this, and this is what people forget. It's not just Texas, whether you have a job in it or not, although those jobs count. It's also the fact that every single thing you touch every day is oil and gas related. So if you have a cell phone or a computer, that case is natural gas. If you're wearing athletic clothes, you're wearing oil and gas. I mean, we all wear athletic clothes, right? If you're wearing your tennis shoes, that's oil and gas, any kind of rubber. And what I always remind people, if they eat cheese-flavored Doritos, you are now eating oil and gas. And so everything that you...
Mac Daddy Del Norte has been eating some oil and natural gas.
So it touches you every single day, whether you realize it or not. And it's important.
Yeah, okay. If you're just joining us, we're with Christi Craddick. She is on the Railroad Commission of Texas, and we've been learning about the Railroad Commission, but she's also running for comptroller here in the state, so we're going to get into that part of the conversation. First, we're going to take a break. Before we go into the break, this is your daily reminder that 915 Talk is listener-supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. Our website is desertvoice.media. You can visit it and you can listen to this conversation again. If you were like, you're driving down the road and you only caught this part of the conversation, you're like, oh man, I'm so intrigued. What is the Railroad Commission? You can go on desertvoice.media, find this conversation, download it in podcast format. You can also watch it on YouTube, Facebook. But we're just on this journey of learning to love our city, love our neighbor, and give God all the glory. So we're going to be back with more with Christi Craddick, and especially talking about running for comptroller. Thou shalt not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. That's right. It's people just like you who make this program possible. Together with Desert Voice, you can learn how to better serve our neighbors and pray for our community. To become a Desert Voice Media partner, you can visit desertvoice.media. That's right. That's the website, desertvoice.media. Take a look and join us today in reaching our borderland for Christ.
Gangsters for Jesus, in partnership with Grace Christian Center, presents Laugh, Rap, and Roll. Join us Friday, October 3rd for a night of fun, family, and fellowship. Get down with rappers Alma MC, Selfless, and Big Perk. Have a laugh with very special guest comedian Gilbert Esquivel, who will be performing stand-up. While faith leaders, the gangster preacher Sal Pettis and Pastor Bobby G will be sharing God's Word. You won't want to miss this special free event located at Grace Christian Center, 820 North Rainer, El Paso, Texas. Doors open at 6 and the show begins at 7 p.m. Bring your friends and family as we celebrate and fellowship with the Lord. We hope to see you there.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
And we're back. We're with Christi Craddick, and you're listening to 915 Talk. Christi is running for comptroller in Texas. Now, we established in the first part of this conversation, Christi, that you're a pretty important person. I mean, you are one of the 3 people who oversee the Railroad Commission in Texas. You're overseeing all of this oil, natural gas, all of this. Is that not enough for you?
You know, it's a great job. I love my job. But I always think there's a place to serve. And so, look, you've got an oil and gas industry that's doing really well. It's a third of the state's economy. But we all know that money's really important. You just were asking for some earlier
Yes.
for people
Yeah,
to
yep.
support you.
I do that a lot.
I know. And so we all know money's important. We all have our own budgets at our home. You
Yes.
know, we're trying to make it. And so the comptroller is in charge of the money for the state. A third of the state's economy I already regulate, but it'd be nice to know and understand and have somebody sitting there with experience, having run statewide and run a state agency
Yeah.
with people that work for the state, what you ought to do with the next part of with all the rest of the money. So,
Right.
you know, I think it's important for somebody to have some of that experience, and that's what I'm looking forward to. What's the comptroller do? It's the CFO of the state, right?
Okay, the Chief Financial
Chief
Officer
Financial
of
Officer
Texas.
of Texas.
Okay,
That's right.
So let's break that down a little bit more, because we had our station engineer in earlier today, and he says, "Who's coming on?" And I said, "Oh, Christi Craddick. She's railroad commissioner, and she's running for comptroller, and I'm going to learn what the comptroller is." And he says, "I just know I'm scared of the comptroller. I'm more scared of them than the IRS." And
Well, then we're not doing our job exactly right.
so Chief Financial Officer, but what does that mean?
So what does it really mean? Look, every dollar that comes into the state, one way or the other, comes to the comptroller's office, right? So every dollar that comes into the state of Texas to the state piece of the government. So we look at what the state's spending, what's coming in, how we're spending those dollars, and that's important to know. Why is it important? Because and you've got to work with the legislature too, and you've got to give them a good accounting of where those dollars are, because when they're in session, which thankfully they've gone home for a while, but when they're in session, they come, they go, they're still here. We all are like, okay, surely you're going to go home and go do your job so we can do ours as an agency. But when they come, they want to spend everything that's available. Look, it's yours and my tax dollars. We ought to have a true accounting of what is available for them. And it's not our job as an agency head for any of us today or at the next job for me to make policy, but to implement what the policy should be.
Right.
And so you've got to work with the legislature. You tell them how much money is available. Make sure that our bond ratings are good, that we're spending our money well. So if we have to borrow dollars for the state, that our rating is good. So you're it's almost like being the bank as well. You want to know what's going in and coming out. And so that's why this agency is really important. And if you don't have a good feel for what's going on, you were joking that it's scarier than the IRS. We've had some people tell us it's taking. Look, there's some things you ought to do when you get there.
Right.
I think you ought to audit yourself and know, like any business, and know what you're doing internally first and foremost. And one of the things we've heard is, as an agency, it's taking us up to 5 years to do audits. Well, that's worse than the IRS on
Are you
certain
suggesting
things.
that the government isn't always run fully efficiently?
Right. And I mean, that's not how it ought to work, right?
Right.
And so I want to take what we've done over at the Railroad Commission and make us very efficient and transparent.
Right.
Because the IT is a little behind, not as bad as what I was at the Railroad Commission, but it is behind. And we ought to be able to file stuff online and get answers online. And if you don't want to talk to people online, get them to answer the phone. My pet peeve, by the way. We ought to be a service agency too, where our customers are the taxpayers.
Right.
And that's the philosophy I have. So look, we want to grab every tax dollar that should be paid to the state and try to figure out how we're not raising any other taxes. But I also think it's a customer service thing, and we use our dollars efficiently. So I got a couple ideas that I want to talk about for local, but I'll let you ask your questions.
Oh yeah.
first. How's that?
Local. She said local. Okay.
Good.
All right. Let's just. Okay. You got me. Go there.
Well, look. So El Paso is really important to the state because of what y'all are doing trade wise. You're a huge community. We see this across the state. You have a bond election.
Okay.
Does everybody know what that is?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So if you're a school board or city council or a county commissioner's job, and you as in one of those roles decide you need more money to do your job, part of your tax bill goes to the state, but the other piece stays in your local community.
Okay.
So let's say you're going to have a school bond election because you need to build some schools or refurbish schools.
Okay.
The school board goes in, they have a meeting, it's a public meeting, you can testify, and then they're going to put what they call a bond out, and you, the citizen, gets to vote on that bond.
Okay.
If you vote yes, then your taxes go up.
Yes.
If you vote,
most people in El Paso don't know that.
well, I'm just saying. I'm telling you,
We vote for every bond in this city.
I live in Austin. It's the same way, right? But if you vote yes, your taxes go up. We all complain about our taxes, so we ought to understand that your taxes are going to go up.
Right.
If you vote no, then maybe they can't build that school or fix it. But what we used to do as an agency at the Comptroller's office that I think we ought to do again is go in before that bond goes out and audit, look and see what's going on with your schools, how they're spending the dollars.
So the state of Texas can do that.
Okay. And then we make it very transparent to you, the local community, and say, your dollars are being spent over here. You already passed this bond 10 years ago and they didn't finish using the money. Or maybe they did and they didn't use it how they said they were going to. Or maybe, but it's your choice then at that point, which means you have to vote. Anybody who's not voting, it's your own fault, right?
Yeah. You hear that, Mac Daddy?
Voting is important. So, but that gives you the opportunity to look and see what's going on in your local community and make an informed decision about, do you want to spend more money as a community? Where your dollar's been going, or do you not?
Okay, so the state of Texas has the right to audit our local schools and show us what's going on.
That's right. And other agencies, by the way.
Tell us what the other ones are that are local. We are on the edges of our seats.
So, look, every agency that, whether it's Health and Human Services or TCEQ or I would say the Railroad Commission, well, we don't have a direct presence out here. We're out in the Permian Basin too, all the way to all the way to El Paso. Agencies ought to be using their dollars efficiently and effectively. It's your tax dollars at the end of the day. I think everybody wants to know where their money's going. And are we as agencies or are we as schools staying within the budget? Because you and I have to stay within our budget to make it work too.
Right.
And if we aren't, then you ought to know that. And if we are, great, then we're using our money efficiently. If we aren't, then you ought to know, and you have the right to either go protest, not vote for it, put somebody else in office, complain, or write an article, get on the radio, get on Facebook and complain.
Right.
And make sure that the people that are stewards of your money are using your money how you want it used.
Right. So it is interesting to me that you've come to El Paso because Texas is overwhelmingly a red state. You are running as a Republican, from what I understand. El Paso is extremely Democratic. I'm sure you're aware of that. As a matter of fact, I suspect that some candidates run as Democrats because that's the only way they can win, even though they're more right-leaning. So with all of that and looking at the fact that here in El Paso, we also have some of the highest property taxes in the nation, and we are really drowning in property taxes for our residences. I have local leaders come in, the mayor, the county judge, people who I believe care very deeply about the community. But their answer is we need to draw more business to El Paso. So does the Comptroller's office affect any of this, or is this something we need to decide as a community?
I think both. So look, because part of those taxes obviously end up in the state, you ought to make sure you're advocating that those taxes come back to the state, like for roads, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the places. That helps you. If you've got roads and you've got a good infrastructure, it allows businesses to come in.
Right.
So if the roads aren't being repaired or the dollars aren't coming back to your community, that's a piece.
Right.
But I also think it's local as well. If we've got this is where it's important for the whole state.
Right.
That if we have a good state economy, and y'all are part of it, you're a big piece, by the way. People forget that some days. I come to El Paso at least every year, if not more often. I like El Paso because y'all have a good community that has grown a lot. You have a big military base in the middle. And people are like, well, they're not even part of the state. Well, yes, they are. They're on the wrong time zone, by the way, but they're part of the state. And so you're in the trade corridors. And by the way, there are pipelines that come in the El Paso area going across to Mexico. So the trade corridors that we have that you have in El Paso between here, Mexico, and really to the west, because New Mexico, Arizona, and going to California are an important trade route. Y'all are in the middle of it.
Right.
And if you don't have good business, that's important for the whole state because everybody begins to suffer. So yes, I think it's local, and local communities ought to be in charge of themselves. But I also think if the comptroller can come in and say, here's how you can more efficiently use the tax dollars you're collecting from your local communities to improve your local communities, or potentially use it for economic development. However you as a local community want to use those dollars more effectively, that benefits you, and then it benefits the whole state too.
Right. Okay. If you're just joining us, we're with Christi Craddick. She is running for comptroller in Texas. We're learning why that matters for us here in El Paso. In the first part of the program, we talked about her career as one of the Texas's 3 railroad commissioners, and we learned it has nothing to do with the railroads, sadly, but has to do with possibly the largest oil and natural gas deposits in the world. We're about to take a break. Before we go into the break, just a shout out to all of KELP Radio's impact partners. These are local businesses, nonprofits, churches, other entities who have joined us in our journey to serve the community through radio. And you can go to KELPradio.com and visit that impact partner section, find out who they are, or what you can do is, if you have a business, you can give me a call at the station and learn what it would mean to become a KELP impact partner. We're going into a break. Thou shalt not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Greetings, KELP listeners. This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. If you are without a church home, we would love to have you join us for worship and Bible study. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org. Greetings, KELP listeners. My name is Terry Gray, and I have the joy and privilege of serving as the pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, located on the west side of El Paso. I also have the joy of connecting with the radio audience in the borderland through the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. On Summons, we study the Bible book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, precept by precept. Please join us each weekday at 5 p.m. for Summons right here on KELP. We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
And we're back. You're listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we have with us Christi Craddick. She is running for comptroller in the state of Texas. And Christi, what I'm hearing the word I heard you use is efficiency. So it's been a while since I was in high school and learned about government. And I spent most of my adult life overseas. So that's my excuse for asking really dumb questions. But what I'm understanding from what you're saying is that the comptroller actually doesn't decide what the budget is, but it looks at making sure that it's being done correctly.
That's right. And look, there are no dumb questions. I always say that. So you were talking as we went to break about the businesses that support you.
Right.
They're all paying sales taxes.
Right.
Sales taxes go to the comptroller's office.
Okay.
And then get redistributed out based on how the legislature has decided to spend those dollars. So that is how it directly affects your community, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you locally have a sales tax piece too, but a big chunk of your sales tax, motor vehicle tax, if you've got hotel motel tax, all of those taxes end up in the comptroller's office and get redistributed back out.
Okay. So here's my other question. As I look at Texas, probably it's going to be a Republican who wins the comptroller race. And when I look at that, what is the difference between you and those you are running against? Because in my mind, Republican is small government. Efficiency would be another word. So what's the difference if I vote for Christi Craddick or one of the other Republicans on the ticket?
You know, it's a good question, and there's a couple of us running, we think, at this point. And the race is in March.
Okay.
So the primary is in March. The general election's next November, just for people to keep up. It's hard when you got so many elections, but that's the timing, right? So look, one, it's efficiency, more transparency. I think you ought to know where your dollars are going. And the bottom line is this. I've been at a state agency, a better experience. I know how to run a state agency. We don't need somebody walking in the door who this is their hobby. You want somebody who really has spent the time understanding how government works and wants to give the time, talent, and resources that I have back to making sure it is run well.
Okay.
Because that's why I ran for office for the first time. We did some good things at the Railroad Commission. I think a lot of that translates what I call across the street, because in Austin we literally are across the street in our office buildings. But I think that translates well. Going from one agency to another, having good experience, knowing how government works, and being a customer service agency, that's important to me to make the comptroller's office like that and be very available. And it doesn't matter to me if you're Republican or Democrat. It matters to me if you are able to come to the state, develop your business or whatever your business plan is, have your family live within their budget, be able to afford things, and be successful, and have a good job if that's your goal. Those are the things that we really want. I want people to continue to have. We don't want to be California. If you came here from California, welcome to Texas. We're glad to have you. But California is inefficient in a lot of respects, and I think we don't want a California Texas. We want Texas and not just the values, but the business and what we've done in this state very well to continue and continue for everybody to have that opportunity.
Right. So another one of the issues that we've talked about on this program multiple times is the education savings account for private schools. Right. That's something that the comptroller's office is overseeing?
So education savings accounts, whether you're for or against them, the legislature passed them. The comptroller's in charge of administering that program. Right now there's rulemaking out there. Look, the bottom line is this, and I have an 8th grader. Everybody pray for me. 8th grade, everybody, if you haven't been in middle school in a while, middle school hadn't changed much, and so it's tough. Yeah. And I have a daughter, so we talk a lot about how important education is. It is. Sure. But I think parents ought to be in charge of their kids' education, not me, the government, you, the parent. And that program ought to benefit every kid who wants to apply and have an opportunity for if their family wants to do something different than what they're doing. Look, I'm public school, private school, homeschool. I think all fit in this state. Sure. So that's where the parents involved. Yeah. And I think you've got to look at not just big cities, but you've got to look at rural Texas too. All of kids, we want everybody to improve. So yes, that program, I want to make sure we're spending the dollars well. It's a lot of money to put a program in place in a short period of time. And if they mess it up before I get there, I'm going to have to fix it. And I hope they don't, because I really want it. Florida's done a really good job with their program. And look, there's always a hiccup or two, right? But Florida's done a really good job. Texas has the opportunity to do a really good job too, for every kid if they want to benefit. Yeah. Okay. Then you talked about how the comptroller can audit, for example, a local school. So I assume there's some friction there that can happen between the comptroller's office and local entities. So probably they would say that the state is overreaching, or the local government. You might say, as the comptroller, that the local government is overreaching. So how does that relationship work? So look, a lot of times we're asked in by a community, or used to be. This is how it used to work. This is how I think it works best. asked in by a community to come do an audit, whether, say, your school board, before a bond, when there's a conversation about a bond going out, we're happy to do that. I don't believe in big government. You're right. I think we ought to be more transparent at every level about where your dollars and how they're being spent. So after that audit ought to be made public to your local community, and that's my goal. And you put it out so you, the local community, can look and see how your dollars are being spent by your school district, and then you make the decisions that's best for you. Maybe you're okay paying an extra penny because you really have, schools that are falling down and the community wants to pay an extra penny, whatever the school bond might be, because they want to improve their schools, bring more businesses in, and get their kids out of buildings that are, may have mold in them or asbestos. Fine. Or maybe you decide those schools are okay, the buildings are okay, but maybe we'd like to spend some of the dollars and give teachers a pay raise, right? I mean, that there may be a different opportunity. So I think that there's going to be a little bit of friction.
Yeah.
But I think taxpayers deserve to know where their dollars are going.
Sure. Amen to that. Amen to that. So you kind of addressed this earlier, but I want to make sure that we maybe talk about this a little bit more explicitly. I recently read a book about the history of El Paso, and I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't agree with all of the views in the book, but it took me through the whole history from thousands of years ago to present. And it was interesting that the last chapter of the book was a strong appeal for El Paso to secede from Texas and go into New Mexico and join New Mexico. And so it surprised me. But I mean, in a general sense, like I said at the beginning of the program, I believe in El Paso, we can feel like we're out in this island in the desert. Austin's far away. We're not like the rest of Texas. We're not really like New Mexico either. We're kind of our own thing. So what would your, message be to the El Paso community as it relates to the state of Texas?
Well, look, I think El Paso is important and always have. Like I said, you're the gateway coming in for kind of the four corners. You don't want to go to New Mexico, by the way. Well, you'd be the richest city in New Mexico, and so then they just come take everything from you, and and now, but you're an important part. And why I say that, and look. So I grew up in Midland. I will say we play football against y'all sometimes, and some days it's good and some days it's bad, right? But look, I think El Paso is unique in where it's situated, and where I would say is I always say you have to get out of Austin to see what's going on in the real world. So I travel a lot, even though that's where I live with a kid. But it's helpful, I think, to continue to invite people like me and other people into your community. Show off what you've got. You've got an incredible university. You've got a medical school. You've got a dental school. You've got all this stuff going on in El Paso. You've got all of your leading on border security. You've got all of the trade that comes back and forth. People know, and you've got people who are working, and the military base. I mean, those are some high points that I'm talking about for 30 seconds, but you've got lots of small businesses out here that work hard and maybe not the greatest drivers. Your roads are always torn up every time I come. By the way. Between y'all and San Antonio, it's a toss-up some days.
I just want everyone to know that Christi Craddick is running for Comptroller of Texas, and she noticed our roads. So thank you, Christi, for that.
But look, I think you've got a lot, and people forget if you don't continue to invite us. And I will say, East Texas, West Texas, everybody thinks that of Austin. I appreciate what you're doing and what communities all over the state are doing, because everyone's unique, and just keep inviting us out. You've got a good story to tell out here.
Yeah, love it. So you brought it up yourself, and we do have a few minutes left. Does the comptroller oversee the TxDOT?
They do not. It's an agency. I guess we could go audit if we needed to too. But,
okay.
But look, the legislature puts dollars into the state for roads, and some of it's federal dollars that we've paid in, right?
Yeah.
But using those dollars appropriately, everybody complains about the roads. It doesn't matter where you are. I mean, everybody in the state complains about the roads. What I will say, and this is how oil and gas, another way it's affecting you. the last several years, we, the state, have been taking about $6 billion out of what they call the rainy day fund, which is oil and gas severance taxes. It's a fund that Texas has. We call it the rainy day fund. The oil and gas industry pays into it. We've been taking dollars out of the legislature's been appropriating dollars. You voted on it years ago. And $6 billion comes out of the oil and gas industry for roads across the state. Another way that oil and gas impacts you every day.
We'd like just a little less work done. But appreciate the money.
Well, quit growing one way or the other. And you don't want to quit growing. So it's part of the challenge.
Okay, so according to the internet, and please correct me if I'm wrong or the internet's wrong, you've pledged to ensure no taxpayer dollars undermine the Second Amendment or pro-life laws. Can you elaborate on how you would enforce that?
Sure. Look, I've been pro-life my whole life. I'm Catholic. Like I said, I have a daughter. This is important to us. And so I want dollars. I don't want them to be in the middle of churches. I think it's your right. And Second Amendment just is the right. I mean, so making sure that we don't step on people's rights is always important, I think, as an elected official, and making sure that dollars aren't appropriated someplace where they shouldn't be, and understanding where those dollars are going to be important as a comptroller.
Okay. So, Christi Craddick, you've come to El Paso, and you've come on this show, 915 Talk, and there's a question we ask all of our guests. And, because we are Christian radio, we do believe in right or wrong answers. But also because we are Christian radio, we try not to be judgmental if you're wrong.
Well, that's important. That's good. Set me up right there.
So it's a question that you're asked when you come to El Paso, and when you go out to eat, they ask you this question, especially when you're ordering enchiladas, and the question is red or green.
Oh, see, I like both actually.
That's what the politicians always say.
So I would say this. My daughter likes red, and I actually like green.
Okay, we do consider that to be correct. So we'll put the applause.
But she does. She does red every time. She doesn't like it super spicy. I like a little bit of spice in mine. And I like green.
All right, that is correct. All right, and then if you could snap your fingers and change one thing about Texas, what would that be?
Oh wow, I think just for us. Just to have a better workforce, continue to improve our workforce. I think that's really going to be important for us long term. And some days, you want it a little hotter and a little bit more water, and you want a little bit less. So those are my two things.
All right. Love it. Christi, thank you so much for coming in today. If you just joined the tail end of this conversation, we've been with Christi Craddick. She's commissioner on the Texas Railroad Commission, and she's running for comptroller. Thank you for coming to El Paso, just sharing your views on our city, on the borderland, also your vision for the state of Texas. Truly an honor to spend this time with you.
Thank you. Christi Craddick for comptroller.com.
All right, Christi Craddick for comptroller.com. Yeah. And as we always say, let's learn to love our city and love our neighbors. And I'll just add, let's learn to love our state and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. In order to listen to previous editions of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media. Let's learn together to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.